So as you can see, we have our engine on the hoist. This is much easier to work on then. And first off, we start by losing these 6 bolts, which hold on the top cover. Make sure you don't lose the gaskets. This one's a bit stuck. So I'm just gonna use this Allen key to get it out there. Yeah, here we go. 6 bolts. So this top cover is sealed with the gasket. It can be a bit tough to get out because with these older engines, most people, there it is. Most people tend to reuse the gaskets with some Hynomar, some other silicone stuff. There it is. So what you can see now is our 2 camshafts over here, intake side, exhaust side, with the brackets on top which hold them down against the walls, and our chain. So we start by taking off the gasket, which can be reused, like I said. There we go. And then it's important to start with this tensioner here and then like move these bolts. When you are working on this engine and you have it open like that, be careful with bolts or nuts or tools, whatever, falling into here. Because if something drops in here, you have to open the engine on the bottom to get it out again. Bring it a little bit closer. So as you can see, those are numbered, and this is like the order in which you have to tie them down. And of course, it's in reverse the order which you have to follow by loosening up those bolts in order not to crack this aluminum bracket.
Hey. Und? Und? Ja, ich filme das jetzt mal, wie ich orte. So, okay. Gut, ich nehme meine, kann ich trotzdem hier mal raus?
Ja, natürlich.
Hast du schon aufgemacht, Büro?
Nee.
Dann mache ich das, ich gehe zum Hals und trinke die Eier. Nur noch bist nicht am Filmen. Ne?
Doch, der läuft die ganze Zeit, aber ich muss nachher schneiden.
Gut.
Okay, das Ding.
Ja, scheiße, den Schlüssel für oben.
Ja.
Also ich wäre das jetzt die Zeit gewesen, wo wir hätten es gucken können, sonst sind die heute Nachmittag weg.
Ja.
Egal? Ja. Ist cool, also wirklich.
Ja, ich weiß. Coole Unimox.
Ja doch, die ganze Atmosphäre, die Gelände da und hat was.
Ja. Ich hoffe, dass das mal vielleicht ein bisschen Anhieb für Konzerte gibt. Oder sowas.
Ja.
Keine Ahnung.
Ja.
Ja.
Also die Chance sehe ich nicht so deutlich. Drück mal wieder runter.
Another thing which I forgot is before you start to loosen up those brackets here, those two, you might wanna unscrew this piece, which is the tensioner for this chain. So of course, if you would loosen those brackets right now, there will be a lot of stress on this chain, which is quite tight, and it will pull down the camshafts. So you can loosen this one first to take off the tension of the chain, and it will be a lot easier to get those brackets off. So we do that first. Seems to be like an hex. Yes, it is. Yes, this side. We can't see shit. Here we go. Here we go. This is the chain tensioner. This shorter version here is the updated one from 1999 in 89, and the previous models from 69 to 79 are like longer ones, which use a different spring setup, and they tend to break more often. So in 99 they switched to this model, which is a good update for your street bike if you can get your hands on one. So now we have this out of the way, and you see this chain, you can't see because I haven't moved it, so it's good. You see this chain is much looser now. So we can start taking off those bolts. Greasy hands, of course. So we start by number 12. Loosen it. Go to 11. Loosen it. Switch to 10, which is over here. Loosen it. 9. Same. 8. 7. 6, 5, 4, 3, And then there is like 2 and 1 is the same as 6 and 5. So you tighten them up. This is important by loosening it, not so much. One more thing is, this is like an oil pipe to feed the intake camshaft. You have to take out this bolt, which is located right here. These are all 10mm bolts, so take this one out, put it somewhere here. So now this oil gallery pipe thing is loose. Now we can start loosening the bolts all the way. Let's do it like that, it's quicker. Now, because there's still some tension from the valve springs below the camshaft, it will start to push up as soon as you loosen some bolts. So those tend to, you see, those tend to be like tighter again as soon as you loosen some up. So you have to be a bit careful about that. And like you saw now, all the tension is gone. You just finish, yeah, this is a bit tighter too, so you have to loosen it like that. Of course, as your hands get greasy, this can be a pain of a work to do. Yeah. Make sure all of them are nice, loose, loosey-goosey. Yeah. So we should be able to take this one off now. Here we go. So this is the cover bracket, whatever you like to call it. Be sure not to lose those bolts because those are special ones. So we put this to the side for now. Clean our hands a bit. Now you can see the intake camshaft, which has somewhere on it. Okay. We do the same thing with the exhaust side. Start with number 12. Loosen it. Bit 11. And do like the same thing like with the intake side of things. Yeah. Always be a bit careful when you're working inside an engine because a lot of the edges are not broken. So it's quite easy to cut your fingers while you're working in there. Yeah. You can see. Yeah, okay. So. Nice. Time for special tools to do the job quicker. As you can see, you can leave the old pipe fixed on this side, so you don't lose it. Number 8. One more important thing, I don't know if you can see it right now. Yes, you can, sort of. If you guys own one of these bikes, you know that a lot of parts are interchangeable between the 4 years of production. Of course, the first 2 years of production being the ones where they did the carbureted version, and this being the fuel injection one. So a lot of parts are interchangeable, but when it comes to the engine, you have to be very careful. The cylinder heads are different but interchangeable, but you have to be very careful with the camshafts. The profile is a bit different on the cams themselves, but the most important thing, I can show you later, you can't see it right now, on the fuel injection model, the intake camshaft is a bit longer, like 2 centimeters or something. And it has like a cam positioning sensor, which the carbureted version doesn't have. So you can't use carburetor, whatever, intake camshafts on a fuel injection model, because they just don't have the sensor. And of course, with the fuel injection and like different injection mappings through the ref range, this sensor is quite important. This is all loose now. So we lift this up, being very careful to drop anything. Yeah, here we go. So now we can lift the chain slightly and take out the intake camshaft first. Here's this little, where are we? Here are we. Here's this little sensor, which is basically a magnet or a bit of steel, and there's a pickup in the cover above which picks up the position of this pin. Of course, those should be labeled, intake and exhaust, somewhere, but you can easily identify them by this sensor, because the exhaust side doesn't have one. So we put this to the side, take our exhaust camshaft. You can just drop the chain because there's like a bolt holding it. So here you can see it's labeled exhaust X. So put this to the side as well. There's a lot of oil in there, which is good. So when you're like down to this level, you can inspect the casting for cracks and breaks and damages and whatever, because you see those little springs here, which are captive inside the cylinder head, and those prevent the camshafts from moving or rocking or getting out of their good position. And this casting here is quite weak on this side, so I had like one head at least which had this side completely broken off, and this thing has pissed off somewhere down in the engine, which caused like a major engine breakdown on the racetrack. So it's not that far off to inspect the engine quite well before you start racing it, because you want to have it good in a good condition so it can perform quite well. So, since we're taking this engine and dismantling it to the cylinder, we can take out the bolt which holds the chain, which is this one here. As you can see, you can't see, but I'll show you. This is our chain, drive chain. And if you drop it, it stays on this bolt. So we take this out so the chain can fall down all the way. This should be a, I don't know, what is it, 6mm hex key. Yeah. Like with the 6 bolts on which hold the top cover, this one has its own little seal. So we don't want to lose that. We have to lift the chain a little bit to get the bolt out. Here we go. So you can see it has like a special form, and when the chain falls down, it's held by this area here. Little gasket.